Let's talk about layout.
I'm jumping into so many books these days, taking a look at the ways that artists and creators are using design and art to convey a game. In many TTRPGs, they're heavily illustrated, they're painterly. You look at the classics like D&D, there's a lot of traditional art. You get more into the indie space and things are more designed while still being, fairly artsy and illustrated. But fewer pieces of illustration because art is expensive. What I find really compelling are some of these pieces like Morkborg or something along the lines of Deathmatch Island. These books that are doing something different. Deathmatch Island, for the most part, is a fairly traditional, good looking designed indie RPG. But what I found really interesting about it was the way that they used what were effectively corporate design mockups that I was familiar with from years of working in corporate graphic design. And then they just took branding for Deathmatch Island Incorporated company and just slapped it on there. Throughout the book, there are so many of these pieces that are just simple. They used orange, they used white, they used black, and then they made a very corporate thing. Why did this work? Well, obvious reason is it fit the narrative of the book. They created a very simple and easy way to create a lot of art for the book without having to spend a lot of money, without having to resort to AI or something like more exploitative. And they also were able to create a very evocative book full of fun and quirkiness. On the other end of the spectrum, you have something like the work from Adam Vass that does so much chaotic illustration and design that is entirely done to immerse you into that world. It is more work than I'm really interested in doing on any of my projects because I'm not an illustrator at the end of the day. I do pixel art, I do illustrate, but that's not where I feel the most comfortable. I'm comfortable as a designer. And so when I look at those two next to each other, they're completely different design languages. They're achieving completely different things and they're different styles of games. But what I'm interested in is quirky and creative ways that layout designers have utilized things like Deathmatch Island did to create a look and feel for a book that allows for more than just a black and white book of text, rules text, while not going the absolutely chaotic over the top route or the more D&D corporate, like the traditional RPG book where everything is heavily illustrated and beautiful and painterly. There's so many ways to do all of this, and I'm specifically having a blast working on Pink Security for DJ Baker Zakala. I'm looking at a lot of the design from games like Borderlands that used a lot of grunge textures and quirky cell shading and stuff, and then that lets me go to free stock websites to find interesting grunge textures and then use typography and simple layout to create an evocative book while he's able to then pay for a handful of illustrations by incredibly talented artists that I get to intermix. I'm just getting into the weeds, but what I don't want to do is make a book full of white pages and black text. There's books that I won't name that I genuinely love, and they go from having amazing pieces of art and layout and design and icons to all of a sudden you end up in the latter half of the chapter and it's just text on white pages. And that's frustrating to me because I want to have an experience when reading these books. I don't want to just be met with a wall of text. I also need to acknowledge that that is not an accessible thing for everybody working on a game. So if you're working on a game and it is all just text on a page, I'm proud of you. You did an amazing job. Also, if you want to work together, let me know. I'd love to add some artistic flair to what you're doing. But when I look at a book and I get excited about a project, it has to do with the visual storytelling piece. So much more than just the text on the page. And I'm interested in finding different creative ways to solve that problem and use design to do it.